Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Well, hello again, and welcome to the AFTN Soccer Show. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zach Meisenheimer.
We're going to bring you an hour of Whitecaps chat, analysis, fun, and whatever else kind of pops into our head. The long wait is nearly over. We're only 3 days away from the Whitecaps facing serious competitive action in the CONCACAF Champions League quarter-final first leg against New York Red Bulls. Not the ideal kind of build-up we were hoping for. The pre-season ended with a horrible 2-1 loss.
Yeah, on Wednesday to Portland.
And we talked a lot about that game in our live Mixlr broadcast that we did during the game on Wednesday night. If you haven't heard that, check that out. Mixlr.com, that's mixlr.com/AFTN. You can find all the stuff from Wednesday night on that. A lot of chat about the game. The only thing I really want to say about it is, for a team that had looked so good defensively in some of their early pre-season games, that Portland game just opened up a floodgates of worrying again about how the defence is going to be this year. Some absolutely horrendous defending for the two Portland goals in particular, but also a number of Timbers breaks that they had. There was absolutely no marking, no urgency, no pressure on Timbers players, and so many times you could freeze the frame and see 3, 4, 5 Timbers guys unmarked on the edge of the box. And of course for the goals, you could see the Timbers players, Valeri especially, unmarked in the box. And when you've got players as dangerous as Valeri and Addy, you cannot just leave them unmarked to wander about and do what they want. But apparently that's what the Whitecaps did on Wednesday night. And of course the other really, really bad news to come out of Wednesday night, because I mean you can handle a pre-season loss. It's a learning experience. It wasn't the number one strongest lineup that the Whitecaps had out there. But the worrying thing is Yordy Reyna came on for a late cameo appearance on the second half. As he's done all pre-season games so far that he's played in, came on the pitch, lit it up, added a spark to the Whitecaps attack, excited everyone, but possibly too much trickery for his own good. Did a little move, got hurt, had to go off, had to get helped off, and we were told that he was getting wheelchaired up the sideline after the game. At the time of recording this, we don't know the official status update for Reyna, but it's not looking good. He put a picture out on Thursday on his Instagram account from Portland Airport, where he was wearing the dreaded walking boot on his foot. And it's just speculation on our part just now, but we've seen this so many times with Whitecaps players over the last couple of years, unfortunately. When the players have those boots on, it's not a good sign. Memories of what happened to Christian Dean last pre-season kind of coming back. He had the boot on. He injured it round about the same time, and he was out till mid-May, didn't return to training till the end of May. Obviously then re-injured himself and was out for the season. But again, we're speculating, we haven't had anything official. It's just not looking good for Reyna just now. We do worry that he's going to miss the first couple of months of the season, and with the way that he was playing, and with the way that other Whitecaps players were playing, that's going to be a massive blow for the Caps, and especially to their CCL hopes. But we'll come to the New York game in the second part of this show. It's been a busy time. The Whitecaps finally have added their new designated player striker. And it was a name that just kind of came a little bit out of the blue. I mean, we spoke to Carl Robinson down in Wales. There was a couple of names in the frame. And former Seattle Sounder Fredy Montero was not one of them.
No.
But Robbo said the deal's been on the table for a couple of weeks now. There was interest from Orlando City to try and attract him there. But Montero's connection to the Pacific Northwest, his wife being from Tacoma, having family down there.
Mauro
Rosales as well, kind of brokering the deal and introducing the two parties. Robbo said as soon as he knew Montero was available, he wanted to make him a Whitecaps player. That's happened. And the Whitecaps have had to give up a lot of money to make that happen.
Yeah, he's brought the Colombian to British Columbia.
And I think a wonderful bit of trolling by the Whitecaps as well to give Montero the number 12 number, because as we know from the Sounders and the Seahawks down in Seattle, they love having the number 12 as the fan number. So why not take their leading all-time scorer, former pin-up boy, and give him the number 12 number here in Vancouver? Excellent stuff. At least it doesn't seem to be the cursed number 7 or number 9 number, so at least that's a good thing. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So first of all, let's just hear from Robbo himself. He did a conference call with media on Wednesday, just talking about the whole Montero transfer, how it came about, what he's hoping he can bring to the team, what it means for other players on the team, and for other things down the road. So let's hear now from Vancouver Whitecaps head coach, Carl Robinson. First thing to ask you, I guess, then is, where do you see Fredy fitting into this team? When he's been with Seattle before, he's kind of played as maybe the number 2 striker or in a partnership. Do you see him coming in as a straight number 9 for you? Or do you see him working more in conjunction with maybe, say, Yordy?
Yeah, I think the plan always is to try and bring in the right combinations, and I think Fredy is such a good, talented player that he can play as the 9, he can play as 10, he can also play as a drifting player inside as well. So, predominantly the plan is to bring him in as the number 9 and complement the other players we have. We do play with 9 and 10, and Yordy's a different type of number 10 forward to what Pedro Morales was. He was a more deep lying number 10. So I think that the two of them hopefully can have an understanding and work together very well.
Just talk about the impact of having legitimate goal scorer in the lineup. The pressure it takes off the other guys, putting them in more comfortable positions.
Hopefully it takes a lot of pressure off the other guys, but we are a team and an organisation that has to do things by committee, and I've said that all along. We had Camilo 3 years ago. He broke through and scored 23 goals in one season, but prior to that he'd only scored 5 and 6 goals, and we could go with the group we had and keep waiting for maybe Eric Hurtado or Giles Barnes, who scores roughly 10 a season, or Kakuta Mane to break out. But the opportunity come with Fredy that we could bring in a proven goal scorer, someone who's played in MLS. We know played it with Seattle up the road, but also someone who's gone on then to score goals at the next level, and obviously he scored goals in China, so it was a no-brainer for me. It was a simple one. He fits into the type of players we like, and also the locker room, because we have a lot of South Central Americans.
Why has it been so hard to find that guy? I mean, you've gone through quite a number of players trying to fill this role.
Yeah, listen, it's anyone who thinks signing players is easy, unfortunately is mistaken, because if you have $5 million, then you go and spend the money on David Villa, and then you don't really need to do much homework on David Villa. If you've got $5 million and you want to spend it on Robbie Keane, you don't need to do much homework on Robbie Keane. But we haven't got that. We brought in Octavio Rivera. We know that he was a young player, and he fitted into the budget parameters which we worked in. So those are the things that people on the outside don't see. We have to find players that fit into the category of our budget restraints, and when you do that, then obviously the search gets narrow. You either take a risk on an older player or you take a risk on a younger player, and we've done it on a younger player. with Octavio, and Octavio for the first 6 months of the season was outstanding, and then he couldn't settle. This time we're going for an experienced player, but someone who's still got plenty of years left. We took advantage of bringing him on loan. Loan for a year was an option, so that's what we're really excited about.
Are you ready for the 22nd, or is that too soon?
Yeah, that's probably a little bit difficult. I think if you're ruling it with your head, you'd say yes, you put him in, but I can't do that. I'll base it on what Fredy did in his first day training today with us, and he looks good. He's a good player, so I'll go on what he says. If he feels he's ready, then we'll look at it. But for the sake of 1 or 2 games, I will not put him at risk, because it's going to be a long season. The problem you have with Champions League games, which the MLS teams are having, is you want to try and get your roster sorted sooner rather than later in preparation for the first game. The other teams not involved have the advantage of an extra 2 weeks. So I won't rush the process as much as I'd want him to play, but I'll do what's right in the medium and long term as well.
Obviously, you've got a number of strikers on board just now. It raises questions, I guess, about Giles with his salary. If you're looking to bring other people in, does somebody like Giles need to move on for you to make that cap space? No, we're pretty set now. If the season started tomorrow, we'd be fine. Am I looking at strengthening other areas? Yes, and probably to strengthen other areas, then I might have to move 1 or 2. But that's what I do. As you said, it's the fun bit is the coaching bit. When you get on the coaching field every day, and the difficult bit is being on the phone, listening to a lot of good stuff, but also a lot of telltales and stories that people want to tell you. So we're trying to strengthen other areas. We will, but obviously then there might be 1 or 2 other changes. But nothing will change in relation to us trying to make the squad, the group, better and stronger, and that won't stop. And just to clarify, you mentioned that you've got an option on Montero, so the club have a chance to buy him at the end of the year. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Carl, it's Mark. How are you?
Hey, Mark.
In terms of just the finances here, you give up $225,000 combined in TAM and GAM in 2018. If this does turn out to be a 1-year loan, is that money well spent, or is this a player you really hope to sign to a longer-term deal here?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Hopefully the TAM money goes up to $225,000 next year. That would help. But the way the league is progressing, obviously it's getting better. Players are getting better, and the cap changes every year. So we had to make a decision in the short term what we thought was right for us to get a centre forward now, because as soon as Fredy Montero was coming back to the league, we had to make sure we did everything we could to try and bring him to our football club. Sometimes you overpay, sometimes you underpay, but the right thing to do was to give up future assets, which we did, because we need a goal scorer now. So if we don't, and we wait till next year and we don't score many goals this year, then people aren't happy. We try and keep people happy.
Is Giles a DP this year, Carl, as it stands, or have you used TAM to buy him down?
Yeah, no, we've got a number of options with regards to 2 or 3 players that we can do. How we juggle it, and who we make a DP or a non-DP and buy down with TAM money. So that's something that I'll sit down with Greg and we'll go through to try and tidy that up. But the important thing was that we brought in a DP centre forward that we know is a proven goal scorer.
So is it possible you could add another DP?
If we decide to move, if it's within our budget, then of course we'd like to look at other things. But if we can't do it, we won't, and if we can, we will. But that will entail moving a piece that we already have here.
If you're looking at kind of Montero's stats in MLS, I think maybe an aspect of his game that gets overlooked is how much he creates. Because looking at his assists here, it's like 7, 10, 9 and 8. Are you going to expect a lot of kind of creative work from him? And you talked about like everything's done by committee. But is that an aspect of his game that really appealed? Not only can he score, but he is also great with creating.
Yes, he did, without a doubt. And if you look at the guys that we had with Camilla, with Kenny Miller, we were trying to get these guys up to double figures stats. Pedro Morales last year, and goals and assists. The key attacking players are judged on that. They're not judged. I judge them on how well they work defensively and what their role within the team is. But people on the outside who don't watch games in detail or just watch the highlights judge players on goals and assists. So we know Fredy likes to create goals. He's very unselfish, but we also know he likes to score goals as well. And that's what attracted me to him. Was, you know, he's a good all-round team player who likes to make everyone else around him better, which is key. You know, he's not just a selfish goal scorer, which sometimes you need, and sometimes people can be. Robbie Keane was exactly like that. You know, he was able to supply goals as well as score goals. So he's in that category.
And like, he's obviously coming from major rivals off the club. Did you have that chat with him? I know some supporters have spoken to you about that in the past, but do you speak to a player about that, about what it's like playing against a team that is his previous team's rivals?
Listen, in football, sometimes you don't dictate where you go, and you know, you have to make decisions based upon what's right for you. And you know, Seattle are a fantastic club. They're our neighbours. They're our rivals. We know that. You know, but I've got the utmost respect for them as an organisation. And they had Fredy Montero a couple of years ago. He done great for them. You know, to be their all-time leading scorer is a fantastic achievement. And you know, they then decided to sell him, and he moved on, and he went and played for 2 different other clubs before he wanted to return to Major League Soccer. So yeah, you know, I think mostly Seattle fans will respect what he's done for him and appreciate what they've done for him. But he's at the next chapter of his life now. So football players are about, you know, playing what they do on the field, and you know, Fredy will be judged with us as what he does on the field, and I'm sure he'll come and do a great job. And I was speaking to him; he's a real key guy. He's a down-to-earth person, you know, and he wants to keep everyone happy, and he'll keep me happy by scoring goals for me.
He's a guy that he's been over in Portugal. He's done well. He went to China. Has he spoken to you, like when Octavio came here, he kind of wanted to put himself in the shop window by doing well here and then maybe getting a better move? Does Montero see his long-term future in MLS, or is he kind of wanting to kind of put himself in the shop window again?
Yeah, listen, that's a really, really good question. I think he wants to play, and he wants to enjoy his football, and I've stayed all along. You know, I don't want any player that doesn't want to be here, who doesn't enjoy their football, or doesn't want to be for this club. You know, it's a fortunate enough position to play professional football at any level, and you know, we as a club, we look after our players, and we try and make it a nice competitive environment when we want to play. So he wants to play football, and that'll do for me. I want players out there on a daily basis who want to train and work as hard as they can, and then turn up for games. And we know he can turn up for big games because he's a big-time player, and as you want to call him, he's a proper striker.
That's great. Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome.
So Carl Robinson there talking about Whitecaps' newest signing, Fredy Montero. He's a guy that's well known to us. We've watched him from before the Whitecaps were even in MLS.
Didn't like him
back then. I like him now because he's a Whitecap, but I know that is not a feeling that everyone shares. Now, for me, he is a player that the Whitecaps needed. He's a goal scorer. In fact, he is Seattle Sounders' leading goal scorer with 60 goals and 42 assists in 160 matches. And that's like MLS, US Open Cup, Champions League.
Yeah.
Then he was with the Sounders for 4 years, 2009 to 2012. Went to Colombia on loan and then got a permanent transfer to Portugal. Scored 37 goals and 12 assists in 94 appearances, including Champions League play, Europa League play, and goals in Portugal's Primeira Liga with Sporting, before heading over to China.
Yeah. For I think 5 million?
4 or 5 million euros is what it was believed to be at the time. Wanted to come back to MLS. His family's from this Pacific Northwest area. His wife is from Tacoma. And for me, he's a great pickup by the Whitecaps. He's a guy that can score. He's a guy that's proven he can score in MLS. There is a concern that he's never played as a prime striker. He's always kind of been a secondary striker. He's played in a partnership. But as you heard Robbo say there, he's looking at him as the number 9. He's looking at him as his main striker. Do you think he can do the job?
My only concern is, and I think this is brought up on Twitter by a number of people, and I totally agree with them, that the Whitecaps right now don't have a midfield that can support Fredy Montero. They need a midfielder that can bring the ball. Reyna a little bit probably, but the two holders right now, the two guys, the double shield, is not good enough to get the ball up to the thing. So they're going to have to work the ball wide and then get it back into Montero and they're not going to be. He's shown some capability of heading the ball in, but I don't think that would be his main thing. That he needs the ball on the floor, get that half step, and then score.
As someone pointed out during our live feed that we did during the Portland game on Wednesday night, if the team played like that with Montero up front, he's going to starve. He's not going to get the service.
No.
The good thing, though, as we talked about with Robbo there, is he is creative. He's added a number of assists over the years. And you're kind of hoping that between him and Reyna, they can get something going. One makes for the other, one finishes, vice versa. You just have this fear at the back of the mind that we've had players before that have scored before they come to the Whitecaps, that have scored after they left the Whitecaps, but for whatever reason, they just can't do it in a Whitecaps jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a concern for you, Zach, that might be the case with Montero? Have we seen his best days in MLS?
I think there's definitely a concern about the service that our current squad will provide to our center forward, to our striker. I think that's a huge issue. I also think that the way we have been playing over previous years is with the emphasis on width and getting balls into the box. And this current loanee is not someone who is good in the air, especially with his head. And so that's a concern. And if you couple that with him in an ideal situation playing with Yordy Reyna, who's shorter than him, also not known for his aerial presence, it will require some further adjustments to how we have played. And based on the preseason, I don't know if we're any further in making those kind of adjustments. And again, without further additions, and I know Robbo has talked about there are ideally one or two more players I'd like to bring in, including someone in central midfield. Without those further additions, or if those additions, say, don't come until the summer transfer window, we couldn't just have a strike force that is starved for service, and if they fail to create themselves, they won't be successful, and therefore I think it will be hard for our club to be successful.
I think essentially, if they need, at this point, because of the personnel they have on the field, they need to get the ball out wide, and they need to work the ball down the sidelines and get it back in somehow. They need to those four guys, those four attackers, whether it's Mane, Montero, Reyna, or Bolaños if he's healthy, or somebody else, those four guys are going to have to carry the load for the attack because and get some support from the fullbacks because the midfield is lacking right now. The two guys, Jacobson and Lapa.
I mean, Robbo said there again, talking about goals are going to be by committee because everything with the team is done by the committee, which isn't surprising because the club is run by a committee, so it's committee from top to bottom, really. But the expectation is that although Montero is going to be the main striker, he's not going to be the person that they're going to put all the weight on to get the goals. He's going to expect a number of goals from Mane, a number of goals from Davies, from Reyna, Barnes if he plays, from the defenders contributing. That's fine that he's thinking that. The pressure is going to be on Montero from the start, partly because he's come from a rival, partly because he's done it before, 3-time MLS All-Star, newcomer of the year in 2009 as well. He comes, in a sense, when we had someone like Rivero who was an unknown. You hoped he was going to do well, but maybe there wasn't as much pressure on him. But then he goes off on a tear, so that then puts the pressure on him. Someone like Montero, you're expecting him to come in and right away hit the ground running and find the back of the net. And if those goals don't come, the pressure's going to get turned on him big time.
And the thing is, I think there has to be some expectations because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Chinese Super League is right now in its preseason as well, and they haven't started their year too. So Montero might be, I don't know if he's in the same, but he might be less than what the Whitecaps are at this point. He might be behind in fitness and everything. He might be behind what the Whitecaps are. So it'd be interesting to see how quickly he can adjust. I don't think he have a problem to adjust the MLS game, but just his fitness and everything.
And looking at him as well, he's 5'7.5", so he's not a tall guy. Reyna's not a tall guy.
He's an half-inch taller than Camilo.
Manny's not a tall guy. Alfonso's quite tall.
Camilo was better in the air.
Yeah.
Good point.
But we have a very small attack. Kyle Gregg, who's unproven in MLS.
He's our only big target.
He's our only target man. You've got
Who
Kendall.
acts like a target man
Yeah.
too. It's like you got Barnes can be the target man, but he doesn't play like it at all.
You've got Kendall coming up for set pieces and stuff like that. Timmy Parker as well. But basically, Kyle Gregg, if you want to change things up off the bench and you need something a bit different, Kyle Gregg is your only guy that's anything different to bring on,
And he
hasn't played an MLS minute yet.
And I know we haven't talked about the Portland game, but he did impress quite a bit when he came on late in the game. I think with 10, 15 minutes.
Hustle won the free kick that Sheriff scored.
Yeah.
But it's a strange time. It's an addition that in some ways, just as we said at the start, kind of came a little bit out of left field. And I know there's going to be some amongst the support that won't like the fact that he is a former pin-up boy for the Sounders.
One in particular in the studio right now.
And I know Zach.
The one that's very quiet.
You have mixed feelings on that. Do you anything you want to say on that, or?
No, I don't want to see our club sign players who used to play for Seattle.
Well, we know that from Mauro Rosales.
Yeah, Mauro Rosales, Sebastian Letou.
You're the first person I thought about when I heard about Montero.
I'm sure that's great. So it's not about, well, with this player it's about the principle, but then it's also about the player as a person and their past and whatever. So I think there's issues on both things. So the principle, I think that we should not be bringing in players from Seattle specifically. I'm not as I know some people have strong feelings about, say, Montreal, Toronto, and Portland as well. But for me, Seattle is the one that I really don't want to see players, because to me, they're our most significant rival, most closest rival, that kind of stuff. And I know that there are probably not a lot of people who feel that way, and that's fine. But that is how I feel in principle. But then you also have to look at what happens when they do come in, right? Like Sebastian Letou was kind of fine okay on the field. It didn't last very long, but he was okay on the field, because he just runs and runs and runs and runs and runs. I remember some of our European footballers talking about him and saying, he's not a footballer. He's just like a track star or a long distance running athlete or whatever. But he didn't really, I don't think, was fully embraced, really. I know that there were definitely some issues in the locker room between him and certain players because of how he handled certain situations. Mauro Rosales, I think, was very different. Mauro Rosales came in, I think... that was difficult for me personally. I wasn't really excited about that. But Mauro Rosales,
loved Mauro.
He did show respect for the club. He showed respect for the supporters in a couple different ways, and ultimately contributed a little bit. And I think was appreciated for that. Fredy, what happens with this current signing, this current loanee? I think will, like you said, Michael, it'll all be, if they produce, people will love him. But for me, it'll be more, does he respect our club? Does he respect our supporters? And also, does he perform on the pitch?
The last thing we want to say about Montero in this segment as well is, for all the talk that we're having about him, he's going to be with the Whitecaps for this year, but we don't know whether he's going to be a Whitecap beyond 2017. If you look at what the Whitecaps had to give up to get Montero here, they had to get the number one ranking in the allocation ranking order. So they had to get that from Minnesota United. They got that by giving up, and this is what I find confusing. They gave up $100,000 in general allocation money, GAM, from 2018, so future GAM. They gave up $125,000 in targeted allocation money in 2018, future TAM, and they gave up a 2017 international roster spot. So you're giving up money for next year for a player that you might not have next year.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Which is kind of weird to get your head around. But also, normally on loan deals, the club that's taking the player on loan has a set amount that they can buy that player for at the end of the loan deal. And although we asked Carl Robinson about, do the Whitecaps have an option to buy, and he said yes, as you heard there, basically the Whitecaps have an option on his MLS rights at the end of 2017. Those rights do not include a set transfer fee from the Chinese club. So if Montero goes and lights it up, they might say, well, we want $5 million, and the Whitecaps are like, we're not going to pay that.
That's not going to happen.
So what that means is the Whitecaps will maintain his MLS rights. So if they don't want to pay the transfer fee, but say Seattle did, or Orlando did, or New York Red Bulls did, they'll say, yeah, we'll pay that transfer fee, we'll take Montero. They then have to give the Whitecaps something to get his MLS rights so they can pay the transfer fee to bring him to them. Although we should also probably say that there is a little bit confusion as to whether Montero is still actually going to be contracted to the Chinese club by the end of 2017. His contract may be up, he may be a free agent, in which case there might not be a transfer fee, but his wage demands are likely to go through the roof, because it's rumoured he's going to be on 1.7 million, 1.77 million, which to me is a bit of a steal for a player of Montero's calibre and proven MLS quality. But you can be sure if the Whitecaps want him for 2018, particularly if he does well 2017, that salary is going to go through the roof. Crazy stuff.
That's MLS.
I mean, it's more crazy, Michael, because even though we now know the amounts that are being transferred, we don't know these amounts that they have, right? We don't know how much allocation of money we're going to have next year. No one knows. Partly because that's influence on where we finish, how we do in certain competitions, all that kind of stuff.
And as Robbo said, he's hoping it's going to go up next year.
Exactly. Target allocation, they just keep on adding that at a whim. Or it sounds like someone asks,
you have some time. You have some time.
So those are hard realities. So they are risking something in the future for something, what they think will be something now, but we'll see.
But if you look at it, that amount of money is not that big of a deal considering how much a transfer fee would have been if they were to, like, even loan fees. People pay loan fees to bring somebody in for 1 year. It happens in Europe all the time. Yeah. So that much money, and it's really like, I think somebody was mentioning on Twitter, it's monopoly money anyways. Yeah, it's not real money.
It's Disney fine. Dollars, which is kind of the thing that they gave that to Mini.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. But two other things about this. One is one of the things that's being highlighted is his provenness in MLS. I think when you look at his numbers, I think one of the things that stands out, and one of the things that good friends in Middle Cascadia have pointed out to me, is that he's a bit of a streaky scorer, for one thing, and two, he's never ever scored in any of his something like 10 MLS Cup matches. So he has not performed in the playoffs, which maybe doesn't matter for us.
Two assists, though.
Which maybe doesn't matter for us so much because our only goal is just to get to the playoffs. And no one cares about what happens when we get there, apparently. So the other thing is that I'll say this in terms of the whole principle behind the thing. I think even though I have the perspective I have on players, former players from Seattle, one other example that people like to point out now is that people have discovered finally that Jordan Harvey went on loan to Seattle. That to me is kind of different because it was a loan spell, and also because, again, Jordan Harvey has shown great respect to our club, has shown great respect to our supporters, and has contributed on the pitch.
And wants to finish his career as a Whitecap.
Yeah, and
maybe even beyond as well.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think, when talking about the principle of it all, is like, when I was informed that this is what was happening, I felt like at least the people making decisions kind of know that there are people who have a certain perspective and kind of went out of their way to show respect for that. They didn't change their decision, obviously, but at least there's some level of understanding of this kind of perspective being amongst supporters and them trying to address that or connect with that ahead of time. And so on a personal level, I appreciated that.
So how he does is what everyone's wanting to see. When he'll make his Whitecap debut as well, no one's very sure. Robo talked about there that he'd love to play him in Wednesday's first leg against New York Red Bulls. He feels that would be difficult. It would probably come a little bit too soon. He might be good to go in the second leg. He might not even be good to go until the season starts. We'll just have to wait and see about that. And it doesn't look like Montero is going to turn out for the Caps in their game against New York Red Bulls on Wednesday evening. First leg of the CONCACAF Champions League quarter-final. Robo said he's going to leave it up to the player. And the players got back in training today on Sunday, and they're going to train a couple of days before heading to New York. If Montero feels he's good to go, he might take the risk. It is a bit of a risk, but when you look at the other options that might be up front and how those options played against Portland on Wednesday, I think it could be a risk worth taking. It's like, this is one of the biggest games in Whitecaps history during the MLS era. New York Red Bulls head coach just last week, Jesse Marsh, already said that to him it's the biggest game of the season. And the season hasn't even started yet. So it's a big game. Both teams really wanting to take it seriously. Both teams wanting to advance. Both teams wanting to make history for their sides. I feel you risk a player like Montero, because without him, we don't have a lot going for us right now.
No, and I think because you're playing away, I think you're really just typical two-leg, playoff. You're going for a draw in the first game, trying to keep it scoreless. So I don't know how much attacking you're going to see against New York.
I disagree. Away goals rule count in this, so you need to score an away goal, at least one. If
I
not
totally
two.
understand that, but in the past, whenever they played this kind of thing, it seemed like going for the draw. They never seemed very inventive going forward. I'm just saying what I've seen in the past.
Are you talking about like Voyageurs Cup final?
Any kind of two-leg thing.
League?
I've never seen them go forward and attack in the first league. Look against Portland in the 1 year playoff year. They barely attacked Portland.
Yeah, I think it's vital that we score one, if not two, away goals, and we limit the damage on the defensive end. If we can keep a clean sheet, obviously that's ideal.
Oh, if we win 2-0, that's a fantastic.
Yeah, if we win 2-0, even 2-1, maybe even tie 2-2. But like we need to get a goal or two on the road, which sounds like fantasy land maybe based on the last 3 games of our preseason, but that's really what. If we're not trying to get an away goal, if we're just sitting back and trying to absorb pressure for the majority of the 90 minutes, we're in a lot of trouble.
Oh, I know that. I agree with that. Because
you can be sure New York is going to come to BC Place 8 days later, fired up and likely to get a goal. Although they haven't got a great record against the Whitecaps, but they're going to be so up for it. And I mean, my thinking of two-legged ties with the away goals rule has completely flipped over the years. I always wanted the second leg to be the home game. Now I don't. I wish we were at home in that first leg, because as Montreal showed perfectly in their run to the final, if you are the away team in the second leg, you know exactly what you need to do. And if you can kill the tie off with an early goal and get that, that's what you do.
There's been some people who have been talking the Caps' chances up because of the fact that Dead Bull has been so poor in knockout home and away series recently or recent years. So again, take that with a grain of salt. But like I agree. We've done really well at Dead Bull Arena. We have some great results, some great victories. We've scored
great goals.
Some great goals.
Some really surprising wins as well.
Totally. Yeah. Kenny Miller's header was amazing.
The ones where you don't expect, you were thinking, okay, let's just get out of here, maybe losing 2-0.
Great Klazura's performance.
Let's not talk about
that debate. I think pure great.
He's a good kid.
Hey, we won the game, man.
Yeah, somehow. But it's going to be a tough tie. Anyone want to make any predictions?
Let's get the dog in here.
Yeah, Predict-A-Pooch. We need to get him back in this programme. If anyone hasn't heard Predict-A-Pooch before, you're missing out. Check our YouTube channel. We've got some video of him. I'm going to go for a 2-0 New York win in that first leg.
I'll go 1-0 to draw.
Okay, I'll be contrarian just for the fun. I'll say 2-1 to Vancouver.
Okay, let's see how that plays out. I mean, I hope it's an attacking display.
I don't see it happening.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm just saying past history.
The thing is, you've got a player like Christian Teixeira, who has thrived in this CONCACAF Champions League environment.
As has Eric Hurtado.
Churchill.
But we're playing against MLS competition.
Yeah.
I know we did.
We're going to be playing against full strength
competition.
Although bizarrely, New York Red Bulls actually have a friendly against Houston that night. It's weird how their preseason has worked out. But Teixeira seems to raise himself in this competition, and with the moves that's coming, and possibly moves that might be to come, Teixeira is a player that could find himself on the chopping block, a player that Robinson might want to trade. So he might want to put himself in the shop window a little bit as well. And that's what frustrates us, as we've said so many times on this show. He's up and down. You know he can do it. He just doesn't do it consistently.
You're right, though. He has been on fire in this competition. It would be nice to see him continue that form.
He's my hope that the Whitecaps might sneak a goal and get away with a 2-1 defeat. A 2-1 defeat, I would take that right now. And then hopefully have Montero good to go and banging the goals in the second leg. Yeah, we'll look over that game in next Sunday's show, and we'll kind of see how things went. Now, though, we're going to take a little break from the Whitecaps and bring you our favourite news segment of the show, Wavelength. Wavelength is the part of the show where we bring you a football-related tune by a proper band. No football chants, actual proper music here. This week we're going back to 1982. A little bit of punk rock for you. The debut single from a Norwich band called Serious Drinking. They were kind of a punk band that had a little bit of humour to their songs. A lot of their songs were about football, a lot of them were about drinking. This one is about football. As we say, it's from their debut EP of the same name, and this is called Love on the Terraces.
Sharon, she came from Southend with Sister Karen. A little skinhead, she liked football. She liked scooters, she liked a third ratio. She liked the Cockney Rejects. Love, love, love on the terraces. Love, love, love on the terraces. At the stadium, by the river, playing a programme. And a silk scarf, she had a nice face. And a blonde hair, she wore a tracksuit. She was beautiful. Love, love, love on the terraces. Goes at half time, same as usual, with the brass band, or in Norwich disco, match got lively, and a goal went in, another fight broke out, then I saw Sharon. Love, love, love on the terraces, love, love, love on the terraces. No, I'll never forget the day I found it, sitting at the tea stall by the Bartley stand. Whilst my mates indulged in mindless violence, the main stand was reduced to total silence. It was love at first sight. Once the games began to fight, but I couldn't give a toss. Cause this match will be no loss. It was love at first sight. Once the games began to fight, but I couldn't give a toss. Cause this match will be no loss. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. Me and Sharon on the terraces. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. I gave 100%. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. She'll never walk alone. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. Love on the terraces. She made my blood. She broke my heart. Love on the terraces. 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 Love on the terraces.
That was Love on the Terraces there from Norwich punk band Serious Drinking from their 1982 EP of the same name. You can also find it on their greatest hits compilation, The Revolution Starts at Closing Time. And that song was kind of a retort to the angelic upstart song Blood on the Terraces, which was all about football violence and football fighting. Serious Drinking wanted to say that, hey, you could do that, but you can also find love as well. And as you all know, we all love football here at AFTN. So for this final segment of the podcast, we're going to bring you a player interview. And it's one of the longest players that's been at the Whitecaps. And by longest, I don't mean like really tall.
He's short.
Not like Kendall
5'2", I
Boston.
think.
Eyes are blue. Russell Teibert's after you. But no, we got a chance, or Zach got a chance to catch up with Russell Teibert down in Portland Sunday passed after the RSL game. Russell started that game, was captain of the squad on that occasion. And it's an interesting interview. A little bit maybe terse at times, but Russell isn't the easiest interview. He's a guy that doesn't allow any negativity in his life. And sometimes he is hard to kind of get in a full flow with an interview. So we thought...
He loves unicorns.
Yeah. Send Zach down, long-time friend, see if we can get any more out of him. Did it work? Find out for yourself. Here's Russell Teibert.
Russell, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Okay, it's been an up and down couple of years for you at the club with injuries, competition for places, that kind of stuff. Do you feel this is something of a crucial season for you career-wise?
No, I wouldn't say it's an up and down season to begin with. So I think that cancels out the question.
No, like the last year was kind of up and down with some injuries.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't say it's up and down. So I think that cancels out that question. I think every year is a crucial year for you as a professional. So you try and do your best you can, and that's my attitude going into this year.
You started against RSL today. You captained the side, but have had limited minutes in the preseason so far. How are you feeling right now after your injuries from last year?
Yeah.
You seem to be back to being like fully fit and fully ready.
Yeah, I think everybody has had limited minutes. So I think again, it's an interesting question.
How do you feel about today?
Yeah, I feel good about today. I feel good anytime I get a chance to go on the field, and today was another opportunity to do so. Anytime I put the Whitecaps jersey on, I give my best and continue to do so.
Okay. The DM position is stacked, as it's always kind of been, and you'll need to keep pushing hard to be in the mix for regular minutes and starts. Where do you see yourself fitting into the team this season, and what do you feel you need to do to keep constantly knocking at Robbo's door?
Yeah, I think every position is there's healthy competition in each position, not just the defensive midfield position. Again, you can only do your best and try to play to your capabilities and qualities within the team concept. You try to do what the manager asks you to do, and obviously being consistent on a week-to-week basis is what's going to keep you in the team. There's great players in this Whitecaps organization, so
listen to what I say, please.
The competition is healthy, and I look forward to competing and training hard with these guys every day. And if given the opportunity on the weekend, I always enjoy playing with the Whitecaps.
Robbo has said he's still looking to add a couple of pieces, but what do you make of the team right now at the moment? How competitive do you think will be this season?
I think every game we've progressed this season, just in a sense that we're taking new things on board. We're trying to do what the manager's asking us to do. The team is coming together quite nicely. I think everybody's kind of feeling that in the locker room. We scored a bunch of goals so far this preseason, which is a good thing for us, because I think that's something that we struggled with in last season. We've added some quality, and I think like you alluded to, the manager said he's going to add some more pieces. So like Yordy gets a goal today, so that's a positive thing for us. But I don't think it's going to be down to one or two players that will make a massive difference between us being in a certain place or a different place. I think certain quality can be a difference maker. Certain players can be a difference maker, but again, we need to perform as a team. We need to perform as 11, as an 18, and that I think that healthy competition with players coming in, the players that we have now, is what's going to drive us on to be a playoff contender.
For yourself, many of us want to see that Russell Teibert return from 2013, the 2 goals, the 9 assists, and just the form and the fire you had that year. Your laser against Minnesota the other night shows it's still there. Do you feel that you can recapture that form and be maybe the attacking midfield piece the club have been missing at times?
I think, again, that's a difficult question. I feel when I was playing my best, we won a Canadian championship, and I don't think that was in 2013. I don't think last season was an up and down season. I think there's certain things that are out of your control, and when I think my goal for this season is for one, just to be happy and to be healthy and really enjoy my time as a professional soccer player.
Okay, if last year, one question about that. If last year wasn't kind of an up and down season, whether for you or for the club, how would you describe last year? How do you think about last year from your mindset?
Yeah, it was a test.
And a test, when you say a test, you mean like something that shapes you, molds you, and helps you move forward, kind of?
That's a great way to put it. What tests do, they challenge you, and it's how you come out of those tests and how you move forward. And like I said, to put it very vague, it was a test.
You're always held up as a poster boy of the residency program, and have also been held up as a future captain of the club. Do you feel either of those things puts any added pressure on your shoulders, or how, you captain the side today? How do you feel about those kind of things?
I feel great. That's a pressure I've wanted and I've had on me since I was a teenager. I enjoy that. It'd be an honor to be a captain of this club. Anytime I get a chance to wear the armband, I'm very proud. Because I have spent many years playing for this club, many years in Vancouver. It's become my home. The city's become my family. The club I hold very close to my heart, and I always enjoy every opportunity I get to play with the Whitecaps.
Just to follow up on that, like you have been the most, for lack of a better word, successful player that has come through the residency. What can we do as a club? Are there things that
I think that's over my head. I don't really want to answer that question because what worked for me may not work for a different player. I don't know the formula. I'm just trying to enjoy my time as a soccer player.
Okay, so even though maybe you don't want to go on that to detail, are these things that you have input on, or that you talk to people about, or do people ever seek your perspective?
No, I haven't spoke to anyone about that. My path is different from other players' paths, and like I said, what worked for me may not work for someone else. I'm still work in progress. I'm still working every day, trying to get better every day, and I will continue to do so.
Cool. Okay, last one.
No worries, man.
It's a big couple of weeks coming up for the club with the Champions League quarterfinal. Yeah. It's right around the corner. As a player that's been at the club for so long, missing out on this competition for so many years, what would it mean to you personally to make history with the club, getting through to the semifinal stage of the CCL and hopefully even further?
Yeah, we watched another Canadian club do it in the past, and it was incredible to watch Montreal do it. I think we want to do the exact same thing except win in the final. But it would be. I remember the feeling of winning that Canadian championship. I think 2 years ago it was, and the joy that we had raising a trophy in front of our fans, and given an opportunity to do that again, to have an opportunity to get to that again it means a lot, and I know it would mean a lot for this entire locker room, for the club, to give the city of Vancouver something to cheer about, because we saw how much it meant on that day.
Yeah.
So Russell Teibert there, just talking about all things Whitecaps. Not agreeing that he had an up and down season. Not agreeing that this is possibly a make or break season for him either. But you have to feel it is. With the players that's coming in, all the rumours that Atiba Hutchinson could be coming into the DM role, Ben McKendry really knocking at the door to try and get first team minutes, Andrew Jacobson really looking the part in the DM role whenever he does come in. It's a really, really big season, I feel, for Russell.
No, I totally agree. Zach obviously spoke to him, but he, like, when you say up and down season, I think the reason why he couldn't agree with it, because I think he thought it was maybe a down season the whole year. He barely got on the pitch last year. Even when he was healthy, he couldn't get on the pitch, and then he was injured most of the season. So I think this year is going to be a test for him. As he said, for last year, I think it'll be a test for him this year too. I think if he doesn't progress enough, I think not only will the Whitecaps might want to see him move on, I think he might himself want to see himself move on and try to find opportunity elsewhere.
The thing I appreciate about Russell and enjoy about Russell when he gives interviews to whoever is he He doesn't answer maybe the way that most of our players or most athletes do. He has he has a certain worldview. He has a certain way of thinking about things, and he really expresses that.
And there's nothing wrong with being positive. I was kidding about the unicorn thing, obviously from before the
It's just New Day from the WWE.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but there's nothing wrong with being positive. But you have to maybe, because if you're too positive, you sometimes open yourself up to more criticism from fans who don't feel like you're looking at the game realistically. That's an issue that some people have with Robbo sometimes, or Rennie before that too.
Yeah, Rennie particularly.
But part of that is people just getting frustrated with people not seeing things the same way that they do.
Yeah.
So when Russell says, "I view last year as a test," I think
that was a good response.
So I think he says, I think he would say, I think he would look at it as it's something that you grow from. It's something that shapes you, hopefully for the better as you move forward. Whether others see that as positive or negative or good or bad or ups and downs or whatever, that doesn't matter. He has his way of approaching things and looking at things, and I think that's good. And he also, with that, and again, not just with this interview, but with all his interviews, I like that he has almost like in a positive way, not in a cocky, negative way. He has a swagger about himself. Like he carries himself in a certain way. He talks in those interviews in a certain way, and I don't know. I appreciate it. I kind of like it.
He just has to translate how he is off the pitch, and he truly does. You're 100% right about the swagger part. He just has to translate that on the pitch with results, and then he'll be fine.
Okay, let's talk about this preseason, if we can, a little bit about Russell specifically. I think that one of the things that not holds him back, but one of the things that I think he's had some, I think, moments we would say were promising in this preseason, and some moments less so, perhaps. But one of the things that I think has been frustrating for him and probably most of our players is that we have not had a preseason at all, in any way, shape, or form, being able to play what most people, or even what Robbo would think is our best 11. So when you look at Russell Teibert and you say, when are his greatest contributions? When have been his greatest contributions to our side? You go back when he was playing with what was the best of 11, and even though he was playing in a role that was somewhat different, he still was able to contribute with our best players on the field. I think if you put Russell Teibert with our other best 10 players on the pitch, I think he will contribute.
I agree with 100%. I think some of the best things he's done is his marking, and like for example, Robbie Keane. He has shut down Robbie Keane a number of times.
Or Clint Dempsey the night we won
he has shown signs. It's just about being consistent, and like you said, getting him on the pitch with the best players. And I think he definitely has a good season ahead of him.
It's hard to see really how he can get regular minutes. I mean, even if he comes in and does well, he does lack, like when you've got Laba, he's a defensive-minded DM who goes forward a little bit and once in a blue moon has a great shot and maybe gets a goal. Russell is too similar. Russell seems to have lost every attacking piece of his game. I mean, the question there that was asked was, where is the Russell Teibert of 2013? And he finds that weird because he doesn't see 2013 as a successful season, and it wasn't because the Whitecaps didn't make the playoffs. And he looks at successful seasons like when the Whitecaps won the Voyageurs Cup for the first time, or 2015 when they had their best ever record. But he didn't contribute in that season, whereas in 2013 he got 2 goals, but he got 9 assists, and he had that amazing burst of 2 months to kind of like 12 weeks where he was outstanding, and he had great games against Robbie Keane, as you said. But for whatever reason, he seems to have lost every attacking part of his game.
Has he been neutered?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly there. He got that laser in the game against Minnesota, so it is there. But will we ever see that Russell again? And what's stopping it happening? Is it just the formation just doesn't suit his style of play?
I would say that does play a little bit of a role, because we're asking it looks like even this preseason more so than last year especially, we're asking our fullbacks to get, or especially 2 years ago, I should say, we're asking our fullbacks to get forward and provide a lot more attacking width, and therefore the double shield has to play a bigger role in terms of defensive cover. And so looking at it, my guess would be that part of that is tactical. It's not. He's being given less of a free role to get forward than definitely when he was playing, out wide in the top three.
Well, we'll see what happens with Russell this season. I don't think he's going to be the guy that's starting against New York this coming Wednesday. Looks like that's going to be Jacobson and Laba. But will Russell do well? I mean, he's the guy that's been at the club the longest. He's, as we said there, the poster boy for guys coming through the residency programme. I feel it's a make or break season for him, even if he doesn't, and we'll just have to see how that goes. But that's it for this episode of the show. Just before we go, we'll just let everyone know where you can find us online. Steve?
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsPete.
On Twitter, I'm Zachary AM.
I'm Michael McCall, and I'm AFTN Canada on Twitter. You can read all our stuff, aftn.ca, away from the numbers. I'm also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com, so check out all my stuff on that. Also check out a few things on AFTN about our premium podcast that we launched this week. It's a way of helping to support the site, allowing us to bring you even more coverage than we do already, and just keep the top quality coverage going for the Whitecaps in a fastly disappearing and changing Vancouver sports marketplace. Anyway, thanks for listening to the show, and until next time, take care and mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.